So Jesus still says, listen, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. These three imperatives, ask, seek, and knock, they're all in the present tense, which has the idea of a continuing action. Keep on asking. Keep on seeking. Keep on knocking. What's beautiful here is that Jesus is really, he's pushing them forward. He's saying, listen, in order to ask, you need the humility to ask. You need the consciousness of your need to ask. That's why I always say, you guys have heard it here before, that you know if you have a pride problem by the amount that you pray. Because if you don't pray, you realize that you don't feel that you have a need. So in order to receive an impossible and possibly possible life, it begins with a consciousness that you do not and cannot do it on your own. That you are a person who comes in need. So you begin to ask. But then from asking, you begin to seek. I like this because seeking is asking plus acting. It implies both earnest petitioning, but the realization that that alone is not sufficient. A person must be active in endeavoring to obtain the fulfillment of his needs. The Bible, out of hand, rejects the fatalism that says, I need a job, Lord, give me a job. I'll sit in my house and not turn my computer on. There's a whole lot of people who say, well, God wants me to have a job, then He's going to send me. I don't have to do anything. You know the people who believe that God will send them a job and doesn't turn on the computer, send out a resume, or talk to anybody? You know what they're called? Unemployed. That's what they're called. See, this happens. See, in the Reformation, when the doctrines of grace or the teachings of it wasn't really Calvin's teaching, kind of. It was a reaction to some other people's teaching. They called it Calvinism ultimately. What ended up happening was that these people believed that God was sovereign, which the Bible clearly teaches, and that nobody gets saved except for by the sovereign work of God, which the Bible clearly teaches. And they said, well, listen, since God is sovereign and people get saved by the sovereign work of God, we don't have anything to do. They sat on their hands. What's good is that history calls it hyper-Calvinism, because, I mean, it's not Calvinism on like a bunch of energy drinks either. It's what happens when you take a doctrine and you take it outside of the parameters of the Bible. The Apostle Paul believed in the sovereignty of God, and he got up and went. And when they stoned him and threw him out of the city, when he woke up, he went back in. He chose to do that. He didn't just sit on his hand and say, well, you're going to get saved, you're going to get saved. If you're looking for a job, absolutely, you ask, but then you also seek a job. And that implies doing whatever it is we do today, posting our resume. But we don't just ask for a job and sit on our hands and say, if God wants me to work, He'll send me a job. That's fatalism. God in His sovereignty loves it when people take their responsibility seriously. He loves it. I don't know why. He does. So asking implies humility and consciousness of need. Seeking is asking plus acting. And then knocking is asking plus acting plus persevering. One knocks again and again until the door is opened. And it's amazing what Jesus says here. He says, ask and it will be given. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened. Everyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds. And for everyone who knocks, it will be opened. Now, you know what's beautiful about this? It's not that God is playing hard to get. God knows that in the process of asking, seeking, and knocking, that our desires will change. As we travel down the road of petitioning God with earnest sincerity in action, with perseverance, what our desires are changed in that process. It was Garth Brooks who sang the song that he thanks God for unanswered prayer.